You know, there are some places that are just legendary. Alcatraz is one of them. The Rock. It was this island fortress, right, in the middle of the San Francisco Bay, surrounded by freezing, treacherous water. It wasn't just a prison. It was designed to be the most secure, totally inescapable prison on the planet. If they sent you to Alcatraz, that was it. The end of the line. I mean, seriously, think about it. The place was built to be a human cage. Guards everywhere, constant head counts, and those deadly currents just waiting for you. So it begs the question, right? How in the world do you escape a place that is, by definition, inescapable? Well, believe it or not, on a foggy night back in 1962, three men did the impossible. They vanished from their cells and were never seen again, leaving behind one of the greatest mysteries of all time. This is that story. And our story doesn't actually start with the plan or the escape itself. Nope, it starts the morning after, with the chaos and confusion that erupted when the guards realized something was very, very wrong. So picture this. It's just another Tuesday morning. The guards are doing their routine 7 a.m. head count. But as they go from cell to cell, they start to notice a problem. Three prisoners weren't standing for the count. A guy named Frank Morris and two brothers, John and Clarence Anglin. They were gone. So the guards go to check the cells, and at first glance, it looks like the men are just sleeping in. But when they get closer, they find something absolutely unbelievable. Tucked into the beds were these incredibly lifelike decoy heads. And I'm not talking about simple dummies. These things were masterpieces of deception, made from soap, plaster, and concrete, painted to look like real skin, and get this, topped with actual human hair they'd snagged from the prison barbershop. They were so good they fooled the guards on their rounds all night long. The real men, they were long gone. So who were the absolute geniuses who pulled this off? Well, as the investigation got going, it became clear that this wasn't just a trio. The plan actually involved four conspirators. Okay, so you had Frank Morris, who was known for being brilliant, a career criminal with a super high IQ. He was the brains of the operation. Then you had the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence. They were tough guys, in for bank robbery. But the key to the whole thing, the real wild card, was the fourth guy, Alan West. West had been at Alcatraz for a while and worked on the maintenance crew. He knew the prison's layout, its routines, and most importantly, he knew its weaknesses. He was the one who came up with the initial idea. And West's idea wasn't just some vague notion. It grew into this incredibly detailed, meticulous plan that took them years to execute, all of it happening right under the noses of some of the most paranoid prison guards in the world. It was as brilliant as it was insane. So what was the first hurdle? Just 6 inches of solid concrete. That's what separated their cells from an old, unguarded utility corridor. 6 inches between them and the first step to freedom. Their methods were just genius. I mean, they made their own tools out of spoons they stole from the mess hall. They even built a homemade drill from a busted vacuum cleaner motor. To hide the sound of all that chipping and drilling, they only worked during the prison's daily music hour, when the noise would be drowned out by accordions and guitars. We already saw the decoy heads they made. And for the grand finale, they built a secret workshop where they stitched and glued together more than 50 raincoats to make their own inflatable raft and life vests. Just incredible. Now, the entire plan, the whole thing hinged on one critical flaw that Alan West had found. In cell block B, the concrete around the air vents was old and starting to crumble from the salty air. This little vent, just about 5 by 9.5 inches, was their way out. For months, they patiently chipped away at the concrete around it, hiding their progress with a fake wall made of painted cardboard. So, on the night of June 11th, 1962, after 2 long years of secret preparations, it was finally time. This was it. Go time. With the dummy heads tucked into their beds, Morris and the Anglin brothers wriggled through the holes they'd made in their cell walls. They climbed up into that dark utility corridor, scrambled up a drain pipe to the roof, snuck across it in the dead of night, and then climbed down a 15-foot barbed wire fence to finally hit the shoreline. They were out of the building. But here's the twist. What about Alan West, the guy who came up with the whole plan? He didn't make it. In a crazy turn of fate, he'd used a bit too much concrete to patch up his own vent for concealment, and it hardened. He couldn't get it open in time. By the time he finally broke through, the others were long gone. He got left behind, and when the guards found him, he spilled everything, telling them every single detail of their incredible plan. So, the men had made it off the island itself. They launched their homemade raft into the frigid bay and paddled off into the foggy night. And that's where the facts end and one of the greatest mysteries in American history begins. The manhunt was massive, but in the days that followed, they found almost nothing. A handmade wooden paddle was discovered floating in the water. They also found a life vest and a couple of waterproof bags made from the same raincoats. And inside those bags were personal items, family photos, letters. Now, you have to ask yourself, if you just pulled off the escape of the century, are you leaving those things behind? And this is where the story completely splits. The FBI's official story is that they drowned. And it makes sense, right? The raft was flimsy, the currents are brutal, the water's freezing, and there were zero reports of stolen cars or anything on the mainland. But, and this is a big but, their bodies were never found. Not one of them. The family of the Anglin brothers insisted for years they got letters from them. And then there's this wild photo that surfaced decades later, supposedly showing the brothers alive and well living in Brazil in the 1970s. So for more than 60 years, that has been the debate. Did they die in the bay just moments after their escape, or did they actually pull off the perfect crime and get away with it? You know, the escape had a huge impact. Less than a year later, Alcatraz closed for good. Now, officials said it was because it cost too much to run, but you can't deny the embarrassment of the escape shattered its whole myth of being inescapable. The FBI officially closed their case back in 1979, but the U.S. Marshals Service, they still have it open. In fact, the warrants for their arrest are active until each man would have turned 99 years old. And that's what we're left with, this ultimate, unanswerable question. Was their brilliant plan a final, desperate gamble that ended in tragedy? Or was it a triumph of human spirit that led to decades of freedom? We may never know for sure. But what we do know is that on one foggy night in 1962, 3 men proved that sometimes even the impossible isn't.